Hi, wel- welcome to another episode of Genesis verse by verse, and today we're looking at day 4, which I call it the rulers of time. Understanding day 4 is critical to understanding Genesis chapter 1, and that is because it is often used to prove a young earth interpretation, and then sometimes it's used to demonstrate that Genesis is incorrect. It cannot be true. One primary concern is if day 4 is not the creation of sun, moon, and stars, then it opens the creation accounts to long periods. And I'm saying that we should not be worried about that. Let me get this out right away. If you are concerned about Genesis account and evolution, and you're so concerned about it that you refuse any other interpretation, you are biased. And you cannot find truth when you're biased. Your view may be correct, it might be the correct view, but you will never know unless you first are open to other thoughts. And I don't mean for 10 seconds, for a few passing moments. I mean doing some real deep investigating thought about it. And here is a quote from a pastor that kind of demonstrates what I'm talking about. He said, "In my opinion, interpreting Genesis in such a way simply gives an open door for those who reject the Creator." That's not the way you go about trying to find truth. If truth opens the door to another view, then we should follow truth. Do we believe God is the author of truth? If so, we have nothing to fear when we are following truth. So let's first review what we have read so far. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. You know what that means? It means that in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. If you have never read any further in the Bible, you just open the Bible for the very first time, you would assume that there's a heaven and an earth because it said God created them. Secondly, we have read about a sunset and a sunrise on 3 different days. Again, if you had not read anything about day 4, you would have not thought of any other thing than a literal sunrise and sunset. Now, I want to go back to the age of the universe because I think this plays into it also. I discussed this in the second video of this series, and if you haven't listened to that, you need to do it so that you understand what I'm talking about here. But there is no reasonable explanation for a young universe. I'm not talking about the creation on the earth. I'm talking about the universe and the planet itself. It should be considered as much as a fact as the earth is round. So then, if that's all true, what do we do with day 4 when it seems to tell us that the sun, moon, and stars weren't created until after all these verses that we read? So let's read the Genesis chapter 14 through 19, the account of day 4 together. "And God said, Let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God said, Let them in the firmament and God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from darkness. And God saw that it was good, and the evening and the morning were the 4th day." So what is the emphasis here? It seems to be the purpose of the celestial bodies. In other words, God said, "Let there be lights for signs, seasons, days, and years." Notice that twice God said that they were to rule. We also notice that it does not say that God made these entities on this day. It doesn't really say that. Instead, it says he made them to rule. And the word made is translated from the Hebrew word ashah, which according to the Strong's lexicon, this word means to do, to make, to accomplish, to perform, and to act. You get the idea from these interpretations that it is not about the actual creation of things, but rather assigning a purpose to them or telling them what they're supposed to do. To do something. You just take, if you're a parent, you could say, I told my child to do their chores, to do. You said, I made my child make their bed. I told my child to accomplish their homework. They were to perform a task, or they were to act in a certain way. So none of those phrases, anybody would assume you're talking about that you created your child. You're just instructing them to perform actions. So what seems to be conveyed here is, in the light of what we've read in the previous verses, in that God is making the bodies to govern time. It is making them to perform an action rather than their creation. Another notable thing is that these lights divide the light from darkness. And that's the same action we read about happening on day one. On day one, in Genesis chapter 4, it says, 1:4, I'm sorry, it says, and God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from darkness. And so, did God divide the light from darkness on day one and then day 4? Or are these two different accounts of what was taking place with the light? The framework of view interprets the days as the first 3 creating environments. As in the first day, he created the environment of light. And the last 3 days is assigning things to occupy or to rule these environments. When we read Genesis like this, it makes the most logical sense. God created the universe, and in that universe he created a planet. Then he established the laws necessary for life to exist. It is described as light coming into the world. That is the first step in creating order in the world. 3 literal days go by, and then we are told that the sun, moon, and stars, their purpose is to organize the light in our lives. Time is the most essential laws that govern living things. So if the light on day 1 was to bring order into the world, then it is these entities that are assigned the jobs of doing that. Because, like I said, time is the most essential law that governs living things. The activities of animals, like their migration, plants, when they flower and they produce fruit, are governed by seasons, which are controlled by these bodies. Let me make this clear. The debate over evolution and creation should not be hung on the shoulders of Genesis. I want to say that one more time. The debate over evolution and creation should not be hung on the shoulders of Genesis. Genesis does not speak to that. The Hebrews would have not understood these ideas when hearing it. What I'm talking about there is they would not have been thinking about evolution, and neither did most until the last couple of centuries. Creation and evolution need to be tackled by science and philosophy, not with Genesis. Day 4 provides a good example of how we need to read Genesis and the rest of the Bible, for a matter of fact. We can't be literal with some points and then overlook the ones we don't like. We can overlook the literal meaning of a sunset and sunrise and then make a literal case for the creation of sun, moon, and stars on day 4. But that would be unfaithful to the text. We should read the account as a story, yes, as a story, telling us about our world so that we know the literal truth about the creation. It's a story, but it's a story that teaches literal truth about our creation. We should read for understanding and not to support an agenda. I have no agenda to prove the universe is old or young. I just want to follow the truth. How long life existed on the earth, I don't know. We do have the count of Adam and Eve and genealogies, which could hit at least the creation of humans back to 6,000 years ago. But other than that, I don't think Genesis speaks or the Bible speaks to that. To prove or disprove evolution is not my agenda. I simply want to read Genesis as consistently and rationally as I can. How about you? Is that what you want to do? I hope so. Hey, if you like this series and this video, would you please give a thumbs up and like it? Also, if you would subscribe to my channel, that would be great. And tell others about it. Maybe they would be interested. Hit that notification bell so then when the next video comes out, you'll know about it. God loves you. I do too. Have a great day.